database. Now, we've spoken a lot about how important it is for you to have an actual database. We spoke about that you have to have all these people in your database so that you can communicate with them over a period of time consistently, that when they do need you, that they know who you are, what you do, and where to find you. Now, when it comes to a database, there's a couple of things that we need to remember. First is, why do you need a database? Well, you are in a people business, and if you sell properties, those properties are owned by people, and it is a lot easier to keep a client than to generate a new one. So when you start in your farming area, you want to kind of become famous within your farming area. And if you have a database of people that you've already spoke to, already met, they already know who you are, what you do, and where to find you. When you keep in contact with them and you build your database around them and you build a relationship with them, then you become top of the mind consciousness when they think anything real estate. Studies that showed that more than 80% of buyers and sellers said that they would use their previous agent again when they have to buy or sell another property. But in reality, only 23% of them actually did. And when they asked them, well, why didn't you use your previous agent? They said, well, I couldn't remember who they were. And that is the power of your database. Your database, every single person in your database is worth $1 million, and you have to treat them as such. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you get a first-time home buyer, they are going to buy or sell every 5 to 7 years on average. So if you get them as a first-time home buyer, over the next 25 years, they are going to sell 4 to 5 properties. That means they buy a property, they sell a property, they buy a property, they sell a property. There's about 10 properties over that period of time. Now, if you do that you start with a sale of, let's say, 800,000, and then it goes up by 5 or 10% every single year, then what that means is you have, over that period of time, written close to R1 million worth of commission and done close to 20 million rands worth of sales. That is the power of having a database and working that database. Now, you need a database because you are human and you cannot remember everything. When you put it into your database, the database will think for you. It will do certain things automatically without you having to remember that. Now, why is it important? Because the size of your database is directly correlated to the size of your bank account. The more people you can talk to, the more people you can service, the higher income you will generate. No people equals no listings equals no sale. Every single thing you do, whether it's going to become easy or it's going to become harder in the future, is going to depend on the quality of your database. So I'm going to play you a short little video about, are you carrying buckets or are you building pipelines? And if you don't have a database, what you are doing is you are carrying buckets where you could be building pipelines to bring in future business while you sleep. Let me quickly play you the video.
You heard the most famous tale in all of history? Not the one about a wooden horse, nor about Sparta. No. It was the tale of 2 water carriers. Pablo was strong, with long flowing hair and beautiful eyes. He went to Harvardicus Universiarium, and he was his town's strongest man. He was called Bovis, which means bull. Bruno lived in a small town nearby, and he was called Little Bruno. His mother said he was very handsome. Pablo was an obvious choice to be water carrier for his village. Bruno also somehow got the job. On their first day, the 2 men gathered water from the same river. Pablo sauntered through his route. Bruno struggled, barely getting any water to his thirsty villagers. Because he was only paid on delivery, he could see that the amount of time he took to carry the water by hand would never make him a rich man. But it sparked an idea. Ding! There had to be a better way. Pablo soldiered on, and even though he spent the majority of his time as water carrier, he was very well paid. He bought fine clothes for himself, and for his new gold-digging wife, he bought her a new ass. Huh? Bruno bought materials and for months, at nights and on weekends, tinkered with a crude version of a pipeline from the river to his village. The townspeople mocked Bruno, but Bruno stayed focused. Good man. Over time, Pablo's shoulders began to hurt and his knees ached. He realized he was doomed to carry water forever. No water equals no pay. On the other hand, Bruno's automated water carrying system had reached the village. Water was easily and quickly being delivered, which made Bruno a wealthy man. As Pablo lay in his home, looted by his long-gone wife, Bruno paid him a visit and shared his proven pipeline plan. The best part about Bruno's plan? He is paid every day the water flows, and there's no need to break his back. Everyone wins! Now, are you a bucket carrier or a pipeline builder? When you wake up in the mornings, are you packing or building?
That is the power of a database. If you don't have a database, you are carrying buckets and you'll be carrying buckets for the rest of your life. And eventually, if you are going to, let's say, only rely on Facebook ads or you're going to rely on Google ads, it's only going to get more expensive and harder to do when time comes. But when you build your database, you are building a pipeline. It might be a little bit harder in the beginning. It might take a little bit more effort. But if you do that right, consistently, your database will work for you 24 hours a day and while you sleep, while you're on holiday. If you want to learn more about building buckets versus carrying buckets, go and check out this book. It is called The Parable of the Pipeline, and it is written by Burke Hedges, and it's a brilliant, brilliant book. And you'll understand why you absolutely have to have a database, because you don't want to carry buckets for the rest of your career in real estate. You want to build your pipelines. Now you know how amazing Property Funnels is. You know that you absolutely have to build pipelines instead of just carrying buckets all the time and getting worn out and tired and paying more money than what you need to. But how do I now actually go and use Property Funnels as my actual database? So let's first start with the main basic one. And the first thing you need to know to build your database is, how do I actually add a contact to the database? Because if you don't put anything into Property Funnels can't work its magic. So let's look at, how do we add a contact?
Finding your contact database inside Property Funnels is very easy. On the left-hand menu, simply scroll down until you see the button called Contact. When you click on the Contact button, you'll be presented with a range of contacts that are either already in the CRM or a completely blank canvas. An easy way to add a contact is to click on this very first button, this little plus sign. When we click on the plus sign, we can add little pieces of data to start the contact upload process. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just put in a first, last name, email address, and phone number to create a new contact. So we'll just call this person, for argument's sake, first time buyer. And first time buyer's email is firsttimebuyer@gmail.com. Their phone number is 078-987-7454. Conveniently also, you're going to have the opportunity to add more than one email address per contact, as well as more than one phone number per contact. It often happens that you have a single contact, but they may have a personal email or phone number, or they may have a business email or business number, and you would like to actually add those pieces of data to the contact record. Going down, you can also customize what kind of contact they are. When you start in Property Funnels, we give you two classifications of contact types. The first is lead and the second is customer. There's also the ability to add more contact types. If you have a look at our help library, just search contact types and how to add new ones, and it'll show you exactly how to add, for example, referrals or attorneys or any other valuable people inside your database. You can also set D&D channels. essentially D&D just means do not disturb. And if it's set to email, text, calls, Facebook Messenger, it will ensure that any messages outgoing from the account, think an automated marketing campaign, will not go out on email channels or text channels if these are checked on. So that is how easy it is to add a new contact to your Property Funnel CRM.
How easy is that? But it's important for you to remember that don't wait until you have all the information. If you simply only have an email and a name, put that in. And the more you get, the more you put in. You ideally need to have at least an email, but if you have an email or a phone number, put in what you can. Don't wait until you have their birthdays and you know everything about them, because the reality is you're not going to know everything about them. Your database is always going to be a work in progress. Now that you have your contacts in the system, now you want to add some notes. Maybe something changed, or maybe you want to add some information about a hobby that they like, or about a particular property that they wanted you to inquire more information on, whatever the case may be. But within the property funnel system, you can actually add notes. So let's take a look at how you can go about and do that.
So once you've created your contact, if you click into your contact, remember we're dealing with first-time buyer here. On the right-hand side, you'll see a few icons. The third icon on the left is your notes icon. If you click on the notes icon, you can see that you have 0 notes right now, but it's easy enough to add a new note. Simply click on add, write your note, and hit save. Your notes are also organized in ascending value, so they will be in the most recent to the most historical notes added, as well as who added the note. It also gives you the ability to edit your note if you made a mistake or you'd like to potentially add to that note, as well as delete the note if you made a mistake or it no longer applies to the contact. Just to demonstrate again how this is done, click on add and then just write your note. So we'll just call this one note 2 and hit save. And you will see now note 2 is above write your note. Another important mention in terms of why you would need notes is also that if you meet someone for the first time or you've had a discussion with them, putting those notes in an electronic format is valuable, because a year from now, 2 years from now, that piece of paper that you jotted those notes down on is gone and you can no longer find it. Imagine being able to children's names, the schools they go to, the grade their kids are in, or their pets' names. Doing that also makes you more likable, because people feel important that you actually remember the important details about their lives.
Next up, we have tasks. And when it comes to tasks, you have to tell the system when it needs to remind you. So in what cases might you use a task? Well, let's say you have a listing and it's a sole and exclusive mandate and it's going to expire in 3 months, for example. Then you want a reminder, should it come close to the time and for some reason you might have not sold that property yet, to remind you to go and renew your mandate way ahead of time. It could also be a task for you to give extra information, to follow up with someone, to give someone feedback. It could be pretty much anything that you need, but then you can set and forget, because we know if we are overwhelmed with everything that we need to do and we don't write it down, we are going to forget how to do it. Now you have a system that can do it for you. Let's take a look at how we go about in setting up a task.
Tasks are amazing things to keep you on top of what it is that you need to be doing. Inside Property Funnels, tasks are either directly related to the contact, or you can just set up a task and not assign it to a contact. You can have a choice between how you want to set it up. Where you find your tasks based on the contact themselves, if you're inside the contact record, again, these little shortcut buttons over here will give you little tooltips to say this one on the left, the second of the left, is your tasks tab. Simply click on the tasks tab and add your task. When you click on the task, you're going to give it a title, you're going to give it a description, you're going to assign it or leave it unassigned, and you're going to do a due date. So let's go ahead and just create a quick task just to show you how easy this is. So I'm just going to call this one call back. and I'm going to give it some details because callback is not generally good enough for me to know exactly what the task was about. So we could just say, seller wants to list their property. And then you can assign it to yourself. So for example, you would select yourself and you can set a due date for this task. You can go as far into the future as you'd like. You can, for example, pick something like 2025, March 2025, the 1st, and then scrolling to the right, you can make sure that you set up a time, for example, 8:20 and hit save. And that's it. There's your task. Managing your tasks, however, on the left-hand side of the task, you will see a little checkbox over here. If you select that checkbox, it essentially marks that task as completed. By toggling between pending, all, and completed, you'll be able to see all your tasks related to this contact or all completed tasks related to the contact, as well as any pending task related to the contact. You can also select various users to see the tasks assigned to them. And then more conveniently too, you can also find a full list of all tasks associated with the account or that you are assigned to by either clicking from the smart lists and the tasks tab here, or a very convenient shortcut on the left-hand side of the menu, also clicking on tasks. So if we go ahead and click on tasks here, we'll be taken to the full tasks tab and we can get a picture of all the completed, pending, as well as upcoming tasks that are due. So for example, the very first one at the top here is the one that we just created, and we can see that its status is marked as pending now. So, or we can mark it as pending. It is currently completed. We can easily see who it's assigned to. We've got the contact's name. We've got the details around the task, as well as when the task is due. You can also change the order of the tasks from descending to ascending. You can view different assignees' tasks. You can also search for different contacts and different statuses. You can also set up a task from here. You don't have to click into a contact record. You can simply click on new task, select your contact, and do exactly the same process as you would normally do when inside the contact record.
Birthdays. Now, there's so many people that you meet, and it's highly impossible for you to remember every single person's birthday. But when you have the birthday and you put it within Property Funnels will actually send them a birthday email. Now, let's see how we can set that up.
Setting up birthday automations is incredibly easy and completely effortless. Inside your Property Funnels account, there is already a built-in birthday automation. It does two things. The first thing is it sets an email to the contact on their birthday, as well as reminding the assigned agent, whether that's you or someone else, that it is this person's birthday, this is their number, and then it also prompts you to give that person a personalized call. Obviously, not everyone is going to be called on their birthday by you, but those that are important to your business, those that form part of your advocates in your business should be called. And you're not always going to know it's their birthday unless you are told. So the easy way to just get this all rolling is inside your contact record, scrolling down just below the contact section, you will see a date of birth tab. So when you create your contact and if you have their birth date, simply go in here and add, for example, their birthday to the contact record. So I'm going to choose March because we're currently in March, and I'm going to make it for the 22nd. Once that has been selected, just click out of it and make sure the autosave feature is switched on. Otherwise, the system will prompt you. And what will happen now is on the 22nd of March, the system's going to check, does anyone have a birthday? And because Mr. First Time Buyer does have a birthday, they're going to automatically be added to the birthday campaign. They're going to receive an email, and you are going to receive a notification that it's their birthday. So that is an easy way for you to stay on top and on track with all the birthdays taking place within your database.
How cool is that? Remember when we watched a video based on whether you're carrying buckets or building pipelines? Now, the guy that was building pipelines, it did take a little bit longer, but in the long run, it absolutely was so worth it. So yes, it might take you an extra 20 seconds to date the birthday, but how cool would it be that you never ever had to remember again someone's birthday? The system will either send an email out automatically, or it will give you the ability to give you a notification to phone those clients to make sure that they know that you really do care about them. Enriching your data. Remember in the training I said your database is never ever done and you always have to add more information. And even if you have all the information, things change. So you always want to make sure that you enrich your data the best you can. So let's take a look at how you can do that within the property funnel system.
Enriching your data is probably one of the most important facets of an effective CRM. It doesn't help you enough to know that it is this person's name and surname, their email and their phone number. What you really need to know is how are they engaging with your business, as well as any extra fields of data that you can add to that contact to make sure that you have an effective and efficient CRM system backing you up when you are out doing other things. So depending on the CRM system that you're using or the account that you're using it in, you may have a range of different contacts and custom fields that have already been set up, but that you have the freedom to add data to so that you can be sure that you're either enriching that data with up-to-date information or you're adding them to other campaigns and automations. A good example of this is a property anniversary. Now, similarly to a birthday automation, the property anniversary automation does the same thing, except that instead of a birthday card, they are receiving a notification to let them know that you remembered that it is their anniversary of the time they purchased the property. And again, you are also reminded that it's this person's property anniversary and that you could potentially give them a call. Why would we do this? Well, as we already know, buyers do become sellers. So if you were important to that person when they purchased the property, perhaps you were the main agent on the sale and you assisted them with a challenging sale potentially or a challenging purchase, keeping that data record as the property anniversary date is going to be important down the line so that you can always make sure that you're wishing them a happy property anniversary and that you have an easy ability to communicate with them when it is time for them to potentially list and sell their property. So if you look inside a contact record and you scroll down a little bit, you will find a property anniversary field just down under the additional, let me just see, it's under the additional info field. So the property anniversary is a date field. So you can click on this and it'll open up a calendar. And for example, if we are in March right now and this person purchased this year in March on the 1st, this will now save that date field to the contact record so that in March the 1st, 2025, you are reminding them that you remember that it's their property anniversary. These things can also be paired with other automations to ensure that you, for example, are reminded to send them a bouquet of flowers or a bottle of champagne to celebrate. If this is what you want to do, these can all be set up. But without this piece of data, you're going to forget that it's this person's property anniversary and potentially also miss out on opportunities down the line to assist them with the sale and perhaps purchase of their next property. If you have a look through your system, you will see that there are a lot of other fields that you can fill in. Not all of these fields actually shoot off an automation, but they're there to make sure that you have a complete contact record based on the data that is important to you. Another way that you can manage your data by adding, for example, tags, and we will get into tags, is to help enrich your data with a group sort of database. You can make these people hot. That can be a hot buyer. That can be a hot seller. A warm lead, again, depending on who they are, you can make them a warm buyer or a warm seller simply by clicking on these buttons and assigning specific tags to that contact record. This will just help you down the line to have a far more enriched experience with your database and know how they fit into your business, whether they are buyers, sellers, landlords, tenants, or potentially investors or other service providers to your business.
Now, some of those fields that he mentioned are absolutely so cool. So, why do you want to know when someone bought a property? Well, you want to know when they bought the property because, firstly, you can wish them a happy anniversary, but also we know that generally on average, people buy and sell every 5 to 7 years. And if you did a Lightstone report on your particular area, and that maybe said that the majority of your sellers sold every 11 years, for example, then you know when the time comes closer for it's time for them to sell based on either the 5 to 7 years or the 11 years, whatever it is in your particular area, you can ramp up your interactions with them. Because if you only send them an email once a month, but you know that it's time that they're going to sell in the next 6 months, then maybe you can start increasing that number of contacts that then when they are ready to buy or sell, that they know who you are, what you do, and where to find you. Smart lists. Smart lists are absolutely magical and so essential in the world of real estate. Remember on the start trading, we talk about that you want to put people in different buckets because if you just had a buyer that bought from you right now, you don't want to sell them or send them a new listing because you don't want to give them buyer's remorse. If you have a new flat, for example, you maybe don't want to send that to someone that has got a family of 5. But if that someone was in the investor bucket, then yes, they might want to know that flat that you've just listed. And smart list is what Property Panel calls your different buckets. Now think of your different buckets as a better way to segment the people within your database. So if you have this entire database full of people and you want to send something to your buyers, for example, but they're not in the buyers bucket, then how do you know who are your buyers and who are your sellers? So Smart List is absolutely magical and so easy to set up. Let's take a look at how you can do that.
So your smart lists are exactly that. They are smart lists. They enable you to segment your database into relevant categories. Your smart lists are also there for you and you alone if you set them up. They're not necessarily going to be shared by to your team members, but they're going to be little spaces for you in the CRM to group your database how you like to work. So if you look at the top here, you will see currently I'm in the all database, but I've also got different smart lists based on different data fields. This is why it's so important to enrich your data. So for example, if I click on follow-ups, these people that would load now are actually all my follow-ups that I've already set to follow up with. You can also see there's 2 people here and they each contain a tag called follow up. Now, if we look at the filter, what's driving the smart list creation is the fact that I have a tag called follow up, and that's what's going to trigger people to enter my follow up database. So if we just show you how to add people to the follow up list, we're going to click on all, and we can assign, because we know it's a tag that is required for them to go into the follow-ups bucket. I'm going to just click on first time buyer. I'm going to add a tag and I'm going to call it follow-up because it will already be in the system. You can see there's follow-up. I'm just going to give it a brief description. I'm going to click add, and it's going to assign that tag now to the first time buyer. I'm going to refresh that and we're going to see it in a second once it's just loaded in. There we go. Now our tag is follow up on first time buyer. And if I go into my follow-ups list, first time buyer should also be there now. So there he is. There's my first time buyer. Remember also birthdays. Sometimes you want to actually have a bird's eye view of all the birthdays upcoming in a specific month or in this month. It's an easy way to just stay on top of all the relevant birthdays that are in your system without necessarily needing to be reminded by the system. So each day you can come into your database, you can click on birthdays, for example, birthdays this month, and you can see that because we set it up as March and we're currently filming this in March, this person was the first time buyer's birthday is March on the 22nd of March 1990, and they are now in the birthdays this month category. It's a dynamic way to ensure that you're always on top of your database. These smart lists are also dynamic in terms of the way that they get updated. For example, if it was April, first time buyer would no longer be in the birthdays this month. And the reason again is because of the filter applied is birth date is this month. So if that is your filter and it is March, all your March birthdays will be in the smart list. in April, all your April birthdays will be in the smart list. And as you add contacts and enrich that data with, for example, the list will grow and grow and grow in terms of your birthdays this month smart list.
Tags. Now, tags and smart lists kind of work hand in hand. So let's look at what is the difference. Well, think of a tag as, let's say, you always have all these electronics that are lying around. You always have all these cables lying around in your house. And when you're looking for a cable, you can't find it. And you decide that you're going to put all of these cables in one specific place. And that is your drawer, your top drawer. And you mark and you tell yourself that all the cables are in the top drawer. So think of the drawer as your smart list. So all you have to do to go find the cables is to go to that particular drawer. Everything will be in there. But the tag is saying that they are in the first drawer. So the tag is where to find it. If we take another analogy, is you've got this big cabinet and you put all the A's under the A section, all the B's under the B section. And that is what the tags are. It helps you sort and find people, because eventually a buyer might be a buyer today, but they might be a seller later on. So then you might have multiple tags on one person, or you might want to change tags within a person. So if you want to find sellers in a particular area or owners in a particular area, an owner could also be a seller, but an owner could also be a buyer of a second property. So tags is how we get to look for those people. So it's like a label we put on them. And then when we search for certain labels, every single person with that particular label, that tag on, will come up and into the system to make it easier for us to find them. So let's look at how we can actually add people with tags and how we can remove them.
So your tags are exactly that, the ability to not only find, but also categorize people into different buckets. So if you look at the database here, you will see all of these contact records, except for Mr. Bobby Brown, have a tag applied to them. Sometimes they have more than one tag. So for example, first time buyer now only has one tag, but David Dude has two tags, Longstreet and buyer. Now, the benefit of having tags is that if I have a tag, for example, Longstreet, I can simply search here and I can find everybody that shares the same tag. Your tags are also absolute values, which basically means there's no interpretation. So it has to match exactly the way the tag is structured. If I, for example, typed in Longstreet without a space between, I don't see any contact records because it's looking for the value that is in exactly the same format. So if we remove Longstreet and we just keep that, again, it can't find it because it's looking for an absolute value. Now, the ability to add tags to your database is hugely important, because what it's going to enable you to do is not only find and sort people, but also send relevant communication to those people. So, for example, if I want to find all my buyers in Longstreet, I have now got a tag called Longstreet and buyer. And if I look for contacts that contain both of these values, and they have to contain both of them, I should be able to find David Dude. So how do we find them? First thing is we're going to click on more filters, and we're going to filter by tag. So you can click down to the bottom where it says tag, and we're going to find is, and we're going to find buyer, and we're going to find Longstreet. And if I click apply here, it's going to find people that share the exact same two tags. If I, for example, remove that filter and I said, I'm only interested in Longstreet, or actually, I'm only interested in buyer, and I remove that and now I apply, what you will see is there will be David Dude is still there, but now there's a second person that just has the buyer tag. So you can be very particular about how you group and structure your database. So how do we add a tag? It's a very good question, and it's a very simple solution. If we click onto David Dude here for now, We can go either into the contact record or we can do it from the main contact screen. But let me show you how you do it when you're inside the contact record. When you're inside your contact record, you're going to just scroll down a little bit until you see tag section over here. You can search for tags that are already contained in the CRM, and if they're not there yet, you can easily create and add a tag from here. So if I click on tags and I start to type something, for example, that doesn't exist in the CRM, so let's just call it tacos for now. You can see there are no tacos inside the CRM as tags, but I have the ability to now add a new one. So I'm going to click on tacos, and now I've got a contact record with 3 tags. And if I wanted to filter all my Long Street buyers who like tacos, I would be able to find David Dude here. Removing tags from the contact record is as easy as adding them. Either go into the contact record, scroll down to tags, and simply click on the little X button here, and it will remove the tag from that contact record entirely. A way to do it in bulk is to just go back to your smart lists, select the relevant contacts. So let's say we want to do it for these 3 people, and I'm going to now apply the tag tacos to first time buyer Bobby Brown and David Dude. Once we've selected our records, we're going to click on the add a tag shortcut button. And because it's a bulk action, it's going to give you just a notification to say that this will be performed potentially over time. But I'm going to now click on tags, and I'm going to either scroll down and find tacos, or if I've got a lot of tags in my system, I can just simply start typing tacos and find it that way. So choose tacos, give it a description for an internal audit purposes so that people know what was happening. So I'm just going to say adding tacos tag and click on add. And now these 3 contact records will all receive the tag tacos. Simply click on refresh. And now you will have first time buyer Bobby Brown and David Dude all with the tacos tag. So you can see tacos, tacos. And if I click on this, you will see there's the tacos tag now added to that contact record. You can also remove tags in bulk. So for example, if I want to now remove the tag tacos from these 3 contact records, I can simply go to this little remove tags icon, and I can now I can find the tag that I want to remove and simply remove it. So let me click on remove tag, select the tag that you want to remove, and then give it a description. Click remove, and that bulk action sometimes happens almost immediately, but sometimes just a few seconds. Click on refresh just to confirm, and now you can see that these contact records don't contain the tacos tag anymore.
There are so many things that you can use tags for. Maybe you want to know which properties in your particular area has got solar installed. Then you can create a tag called solar and tag those owners that is in your system that has solar. Maybe you want to tag double garage. Maybe you want to tag swimming pool. It really doesn't matter. Maybe you just want to say they're in your database, but you haven't actually met them or you haven't actually seen them. That could also be a tag that you can put in there. So tags are so powerful because the more you can tag people, the easier it is for you to find. If we look at the analogy with the cables in your house, could you eventually find the cable? Yes, you could, but it'll take you 15, 20, maybe even an hour or a couple of days to find those things. But if you've tagged them and you know that they're on a specific drawer, then it's easy for you to go and find the people that you need. So it'll save you time, it'll save you energy, and you will, when it comes to marketing, you will be able to have a more tailored marketing campaign to the relevant people.